My name is Jeff Morgan. I am from Dallas, Texas, and I'm currently at the Rockwall County Courthouse in Rockwall, Texas. I came out today because I was watching a hearing that a veteran friend, had today. And in this place right here, by the way, this is a memorial to the veterans. I think I was here actually when they dedicated this. But it still amazes me, to this day it amazes me, when a veteran goes to court, be it a male or a female, that judges often use their service against them or do not give them the honor that they should have as a veteran, especially people that have been over in other places, say for example in Afghanistan. Today I was in court and I was watching on behalf of a lady who has had her children basically kidnapped from her by her ex-husband. Her ex-husband continues to ignore court orders. Her ex-husband filed for divorce on her when she was in Afghanistan serving the troops as a nurse. She did not realize it at the time, but basically he was using her to get an anchor in America, and then after she was overseas, he decided to hook up with his friend from Mexico, was able to get her over here, filed for divorce, and there are 3 children involved, and he has been keeping the children from her. Her service was very honorable. She's a 20-year veteran. I believe she's in the Air Force. Again, serving our veterans. She was a nurse for a number of years. Currently 100% disabled. And yet when we come to a place like the Rockwall County Courthouse, a place where right outside the courthouse we honor our veterans, inside the courthouse, veterans are often treated like crap. Because the husband actually has the kids and has been able to poison them, pour poison into their minds regarding her. Now the kids don't really want to see her. And the judge here, and I'm going to say his name, is Judge David Rakow. Now, I've been to David Rakow's court for a couple of different people. For this person in particular, I've been here maybe 3 or 4 times now, and I'm watching what's going on here. And it is a shame because David Rakow might think that he's acting in the best interest of the children. I believe that David Rakow is a facilitator of this abuse and a facilitator of this alienation. I don't believe he has any clue what alienation is, and I don't believe that, maybe he does a little bit, but I don't believe he knows how to address it. Now in this situation here, they've had this one lady, and I don't remember her name exactly, Gagnon or something like that, and she was a hired gun, who was hired to give a result that the father wanted. The father, by the way, has gone through about 15 attorneys. If the attorney doesn't get what he wants, he fires them. And today there was something that took place that Judge David Rakow actually did something against the father's wishes, so probably the next attorney will be fired as well. But here was a lady, once again, served very honorably in our armed forces, served in Afghanistan, was tending to the needs of our soldiers over in a foreign country as a nurse. And she comes to family courts, and in order for her to continue fighting this, she has had to remortgage her house, take some equity out of her house to continue in this 10-year fight. Veterans have told me that family courts are worse than their fighting time in Iraq or in Afghanistan. In fact, one person said that it was a walk in a park to be in Afghanistan or Iraq. Family courts are that horrible, that terrible. What's been going on with her right now is that she has not seen her children for the most part for about 10 months. And it was very interesting to watch Judge David Rakow kind of blame her, in a sense, or blame both parents. One parent is following the orders, and the other parent is not following the orders. One parent is completely disregarding the orders, and Judge David Rakow gives him a pass, and Judge David Rakow blames the other parent as if somehow she is responsible, she is one of the parties in this. Well, she is a party in this, but she is a victim. And once again, because people like this Judge David Rakow do not understand the dynamics, or for whatever reason they don't address it properly, I believe that they are facilitators in this abuse. Now, something else really disturbed me today because I came out from Dallas to Rockwall to sit on this hearing. It started earlier than I thought it would, so I missed part of it, but I came in here and what I noticed was this. Everything was conducted in chambers. Why is that? The open courts doctrine is such that we should be able to go into our courtrooms and watch the operations of our courts. And yet when judges pull attorneys back in the chambers and the parents are left out in the courtroom while the attorneys fight among themselves or argue among themselves or try to persuade the judge something, that is all being hidden from the public. And I believe that these types of proceedings also should be made available so that we can see how these judges, these anti-family judges in many instances, are actually ruling and what they're taking into account. I believe there's been a lot of corruption here. I believe that because the judge has not acted with justice and quickly and fairly, that this one lady, this former Air Force veteran, 20 years, retired, 100% disabled, has had to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and I blame the judge for a lot of it. I blame her ex-husband for a lot of it, but I blame the judge because he does not have evidently either the gonads or the ability to see through the crap and to shut it down. Now, he may be doing that next week, but this has been a 10-year process. What does it take to convince these anti-family judges to actually get their acts together? Now, the interesting thing about this situation is that when the divorce took place, again, this was a divorce that the veteran's ex-husband filed when she was overseas in Afghanistan. He was hooking up with old hoochie coochie from the college days or something like that, somebody from Mexico that he was snuggling up with, and of course he files for divorce and he takes the children. She has had to pay so much money, and she got abused when she came back. When I say abuse, there's also been domestic issues too, domestic violence. She's got scratches, she's got other things. But even in spite of all of this, what she wanted was 50-50 equal shared parenting. She wanted both parents to be involved in the children's lives. There is one person in the situation who does not want it. That is the ex-husband. He has been using this and has been advocating for something other than 50-50 and has been poisoning the kids. From my perspective, what is going on is this. When you have one person who has the kids all the time, he or she, man or woman, husband or wife, father or whatever it may be, can poison the child. Now, one of the things that these judges say and some of the attorneys say is that, we're working through this stuff. When they turn 18, they're going to come back. That is a bunch of nonsense, and it's garbage. This is what some of these people use to comfort themselves, like, you're going to have to suffer through it and they're going to come back. Are they God? Can they see the future? Can they see exactly what's going to take place? Can they make a guarantee? Would they be willing to bet their fortune on this guarantee, if it doesn't happen at age 18, that they would compensate the person? Because right now what they are doing, they are abusing people and they're destroying them financially, emotionally, and many other ways. Not only are they destroying the parents, they are destroying the children. And often that becomes transgenerational. It's not just the children that these judges are impacting and affecting, but even the grandchildren. There will be strained relationships throughout the whole thing. Once again, I came out here because of the open court doctrine. The hearing was not broadcast on YouTube, so I drove out here to watch the operations of my court, our court, the courts that we, the taxpayers, pay for, to watch to see how the judges that we support, that we finance, that we pay their salaries, how they are ruling. And what do? They go back in chambers and they keep everything in secret. I believe this ought to be stopped, except for maybe a few small instances. But this happened twice today. There were 2 different times. The judges are back in chambers. We need to be able to see what's going on so that we can see the operation of our courts. This is abusive, it's exploitive, and it basically comes to financial pillaging. And in fact, the other time that I was here, and I don't know whether I heard this or not, because I don't remember whether I quite heard this and wasn't paying attention or not. It may have been right before I got here. It may have been after I was here. But he was talking about the fighting going on and how it's creating retail for the business. What business? The family law business. These people are using conflict to create business for each other. We have the attorneys. There may be a good attorney, there may be a bad attorney, but the attorneys get compensated. We have the guardian ad litems. We have the amicus people. We have the child custody evaluators. This whole industry The only way I can describe this industry is that this is something that has been born and bred in hell. It is demonic. I've compared it to when I was a missionary in Iraq. I saw some of the operations of Saddam's people, the Mukhabarat and other things like that. I believe that these family courts are every bit as bad, every bit as destructive. And yet these judges, now Judge Rakow today had on a suit, I believe it was a brown suit. He did not have on his black robe, so he was not infused with the wisdom that the black robe brings him. But nevertheless, he's sitting up there. He has no training or very little training in the issues that he supposedly is adjudicating. And the other reality is he's rendering an opinion. They talk about the best interest of the child. They do not know the best interest of the child. Again, they cannot prognosticate. The best interest of the child, well, they say we use the Hawley factors. The Texas Supreme Court talked about the Hawley factors, and they had 8 factors. And what they said is this: the Hawley factors were a non-exhaustive list that they used to try to determine the best interest of the child. They give no weighting to how these non-exhaustive factors are used, and they really have never come up with a whole exhaustive list so that we could know if this is better, if that's better. This is a bunch of garbage. It is attorneys arguing with attorneys to create conflict, and judges somehow thinking that we're going to act in the best interest of the child. Who pretends that they're acting better in the best interest of the child? The best interest of the child is to be reared in an intact home with his or her natural mother and father, period. So that gets rid of no-fault divorce. If you have no-fault forced divorce, you have to say that right away is wrong. If you have a fault-based divorce, that is something that you can work with, that you can live with. It should go against the public policy of the state to have unilateral no-fault divorce. There are numerous constitutional violations. It causes trauma to children. Actually, in many instances, when no-fault divorce takes place, it causes worse trauma to children than a divorce that was necessary because of abuse or something else. Modifications. I do not know how many modifications this thing has gone through, but the best thing to do right off the bat would be to say 50-50 equal shared parenting, for the most part, not in every single case. But in this case, where the alienation is particularly bad, the Judge David Rakow is now thinking that he's going to maybe give the mother a little bit more time. People who are experts in parental alienation will tell you the only good thing that could be done at this point would be for the judge to completely sever contact between the children and the alienating parent. That alienating parent has brainwashed the kids. And I'm sorry if Judge Rakow doesn't understand this, but he needs to be educated on this. And many of our judges need to be educated on this. He's going to give a little bit more so that the abuse decreases somewhat. What he needs to do, and again, you can go to the experts in the field. They will tell you in a case of severe alienation or alienation and poisoning, what you need to do is sever the relationship at least for 3 months and let the children spend time with the other parent to undo the brainwashing that's been taking place. But I'm sure that we'll see next week, perhaps. I mean, maybe David Rakow is going to come up with something. I'm hoping that perhaps he will see this video, perhaps get a little bit more education, perhaps not make another disastrous decision as he has been doing in the past. There was something else that really bothered me. Again, I think I may have mentioned this already, but he kind of like blamed the parents, plural. One parent is obeying everything, the other parent is disregarding everything. Why is he blaming both parents? That is also abusive. And furthermore, why is he blaming the parents when he himself is the fault for a lot of these things? He has been enabling it. And again, this is not the first time for the first person that I've sat in on his court. I've seen it happen in the past. So I think that out of the times that I've been there, I have not seen anything good really take place as of this point. By the way, there was a police officer that was in here to testify regarding the abuse and the domestic violence against the ex-husband. I've talked with the wife. She has scars on her. And you know what? Even the police officer did not get to testify. I would think that if you're talking about the best interest of the child, as he purports to be doing, that he ought to be looking to say, listen, is one of the parents abusing, beating up the other parent? Did one of the parents go in and commit adultery and have all sorts of affairs on the other parent? Did one of the parents do something that put the parent who wanted to work in a position of vulnerability? That's what should be being done. There's also this, and again, maybe I've already talked about this. There was also this one counselor that was a hired gun. I will say this, there may be a little bright ray of hope because it appears that perhaps she is out of the situation right now. This counselor was a hired gun, to the best of my knowledge, by the husband. And by the way, this lady who came, again, 100% disability, fully retired, veteran, she had people from the VA that would have been engaged in this counseling and reunification and everything like that for free. And yet Judge David Rakow would not allow her to use these resources. There's a big disconnect between what some of these anti-family judges do to the veterans. Veterans come to the courts often having divorce filed against them when they're out serving their country, often being portrayed to be a bad person when they're out serving and protecting you and me. And the judges decide that they're going to use a veteran service against them and not give them the respect that they're due. This is atrocious. Once again, this is the Rockwall County Courthouse that I am in front of. And this right here is a memorial to our fallen veterans. Again, I was here, I believe, the day that they opened it up. We cannot pretend to honor our veterans, to love our veterans, and abuse them in the family courts. We need to do something for the veterans at this point. And for David Rakow, Judge David Rakow, I'm providing this as a little bit of education. I would be very glad to talk with you more. There are many people that are much more qualified than I am to discuss this with you. But at this point in time, this has been so bad. It's continued on for 10 years under this judge. He has got to be considered a facilitator of this abuse, in my opinion. And I believe that he should even be recused. And I believe that they should get somebody in here that would act decisively, strongly, and firmly, stop the abuse. Obviously, the judge has not been able to do so because every time he issues an order, the husband completely disregards the order, and the judge appears to be okay with that, though maybe he's losing a little bit of patience. But Judge Rakow, you have been damaging children and possibly the grandchildren coming up. You have been damaging parents. You would hate it if somebody treated you and your family in this regard, in this respect, in this manner. And yet you do this to others. This is a shame. It's tragic. I'm going to be back here again next Monday, I believe, unless it's going to be another closed hearing, in-chambers hearing. And by the way, here's something else. He's going to have an in-chambers hearing now with the children who've had 10 months away from their mother, who've been brainwashed and poisoned with all of this stuff. And he's not even going to do an audio and video recording. He's going to have a court transcript. Number one, when you communicate through a court transcript, you miss all the nonverbal communication. Everybody knows that nonverbal communication is over 90% of the actual communication. In addition, with a court transcript, maybe you get it right 100%, but you don't hear the inflections in the voices. Sometimes you get the words wrong. This should actually be videotaped, audio taped, and there should be experts to review it. And by the way, I think that these experts that review it, and a lot of this stuff, should be paid for by the state, not by the individuals who are being abused. And if this abuse goes on, I believe that these judges should also have some type of personal liability for what they're doing. And at the very least, everybody should know about them so we can vote them out of office. Judge Rakow, I'm sure that you know me. We maybe have talked in the past. I know we've been at a couple of meetings together in the past. I'd be very happy to have you reach out to me. I do this because I believe that you sincerely are lacking in education. I will give you the benefit of the doubt, but what you are doing in your ignorance is causing destruction, and you need to stop doing this. There's many people that would love to reach out to you. I could arrange it for free. It's up to you. I'd be very glad to make those arrangements. And anyway, that's it. Thank you very much. For the veterans, keep fighting. For the veterans that have served very honorably to their country, we appreciate you. And you should not have to endure the abuse that these family courts heap upon you. You are heroes in many instances, and we need to honor you as people who have sacrificed your lives, sacrificed your desires. Sign a blank check with your life on that check. Say, I will give this payment if need be to protect my nation, my family, the people back in America. Once again, we don't get this in our family courts. We need to investigate this. If I were the governor, I would call an immediate investigation, and I would stop these proceedings right now because of the abuse, the blatant, ongoing, and horrendous abuse that takes place on a daily basis, multiple times a day, throughout the state of Texas. Thank you.